Welcome back, everybody, to saving all of the fleas while completing true ending with as little completion percentage as possible. So we just recently finished the Lace 2 fight. It's a pretty quick fight. And so now we just have a couple more quest points that we need to get, and then we'll be able to make our way into Act 3. So the main quests that we're doing are the courier quests, and partly that's because they don't provide percent, but also it's because doing as many things as possible in parallel with the couriers is just funny. So we're going to have a very fun little courier to work on next, which is the Mask Maker courier. And this is one that is not particularly popular, as it has to go quite a distance. It has to travel all the way through Blasted Steps and around through the entrance of Citadel, and then through the Slab, and then to Mount Fae. But this actually gives us the opportunity to do a bunch of stuff in parallel. So currently we're heading our way back toward Belheart, because we need to pick up the courier quest there. And this courier quest, unlike all of the other ones, is one that we can do going to the left. Almost everything else we've been traveling through those right side rooms. We're buying a bunch of shard bundles here because we're going to need these for the quests that we do in Bone Bottom. So the final repair quest requires quite a few shards. And we're actually using a fair amount of shards because we've actually been making use of our snare setter. Completing a few other quests here while we're near the board. And now we can get the Mask Maker delivery. So you might notice that we didn't bench here. The quest auto benches, but we're actually going to have to take a bench along the way anyways. And that's because we need to get the fleas to go to the Fleetopia, and in order to do that, we're going to have to do a time passes elsewhere, which involves sitting on a bench and then saving and quitting. So we're going to go ahead and grab this last polyp that we need. And we're not going to bother opening the door here because we've arranged things so that we never have to pass through here again. We're actually going to do the route to Bone Bottom through a slightly different path that goes below through the Marrow, which actually ends up being a little bit faster than the completely flat path, especially when you don't have as much horizontal traversal due to being in low percent and not having dash. So the nice thing is we can get a quest point here without getting a percent, because we don't actually have to pick up the polyp pouch. We can just turn in the polyps, and that's enough to get the quest point. So now we're making our way over to Blasted Steps, and we get to do this run with wings, which is kind of fun. Pretty similar to doing it without wings, just a few additional things you can skip. And then we take the shortcut through here, since this has all been opened up. And then the first thing that we're going to do while we're on this Mask Maker trip is we're going to visit the Sands of Kara. And this area has a couple of fleas, and it also has a simple key, which is what we're going to use to free the Green Prince, because we need to do Verdania. So you can actually climb that wall. Fun little fact there. At least with wings. And then now we can go up and around. And we are going to have a fight coming up here. the conch flies. This is a fun little fight. There's a scream skip we can do here, and you can also get double hits with spears, and we're going to make extensive use of that, where we can hit both of them at the same time, which saves a lot of time because they share a health pool. So anytime you hit both of them is excellent for progress in the fight. And that's it. We do hit the other one a couple more times because we can still get silk from it while it's leaving the room, even though the fight was already over. So pretty quick fight. And now we have to make our way up to Sock, which requires some funky movement in this next room. We're able to skip quite a few of the rings, which are kind of slow, so being able to skip them is very nice. And this one, we're able to do a nice little skip above it. Now in Sock itself, we have these little pearls that you knock off and create platforms for you, but we're not going to wait for those platforms because it takes forever for them to spawn. So instead, we're going to take advantage of our wings and our claw line to just make our way across the room. And this one we can do a similar skip where we're actually going to use the snare setter to bounce off of the projectile from that guy. We do need to visit Chakra. That's far enough into the room to set the flag. That gives us the ability to buy the map later, which is one of the things we require for the Trails End quest. Save that flea. And then there is a flea in this room as well. You might notice that we only hit that coral twice. Fun little juggle to get up here. Sometimes you can manage to get through these coral barriers with only 2 hits instead of 3. It's a little bit tricky, and it's not fully well understood how they work. Yeah, so you can see that we never actually used any of those pearls platforms to cross at any point. We did, however, use pogos off of the pearls to be able to do things. So now we're going to take a very small detour here to grab the simple key. And now I can go back around. One thing you'll notice is that we never have to get the Blasted Steps Bellway. And that's because when we're going to go to Seth later, to get to Nyleth, we're actually just going to take the Ventrica to the spa area. And then from there you can actually get down pretty easily. So we do need to bench here, because we need to have talked to Mushka before Mushka will travel. And in order to do that, we have to have done a time passes elsewhere. So we leave the room to a different area, then we save and quit, come back in, and now we'll be able to talk to Mushka, and they will be willing to travel to Fleetopia. However, we unfortunately can't travel with them because we are carrying a courier package. So we have to say no. Unfortunately, we missed the very nice cutscene. Instead, we just get a series of sounds with a black screen. But we need to continue our way to Maskmaker. So while we are in the Citadel here, we're going to take some time to grab a few cloaks, because we do still need some cloaks for our quest. We get to do this room again, but this time with wings. So more fun things where we hit the scales while we're bouncing off of them. Very fun. We lure that guy down so that we can get the cloak from him. Unfortunately, we do have to kill these other enemies because they kind of get in the way. And if we ignore them, then they become a pain. So we got those cloaks, and then there is another set of cloaks up here. Make sure to knock their bodies to the right so that they don't fall off. Do our wall swimming to climb things up. There's another cloak in this room to the left. So we grab this guy and finish him off before he even wakes up. And then here, we're ultimately going to the slab, but we are going to take a quick detour to the right for the last couple cloaks we need. And unfortunately, we do need to come up here. If we had managed to get one further cloak down, we wouldn't have had to, but it's not too long of a detour. And we're never going to be in this area again. Oh, you might also notice that we only have 1 pip of health left on the Maskmaker courier package. Since, of course, we took 2 hits on it to do the scream skip earlier. But I'm sure it'll be fine. After all, doing all of the slab while on 1 hit should be easy, right? Now, we have a lot of fun through here. We do need to pass through here to use the key. However, we are going to bench down here first before we pass through that door, because we are going to be heading to Mount Fae after we complete the slab. So the reason we actually have to do the slab is that we need to do the Broodmother quest, because that's a quest we can do without getting a percent. And in order to do that, we need to get the Heretic's key. So to do that, we're going to have to go through all of the slab. We are going to take a quick detour to grab the flea in here, because that is, of course, our primary objective. And then we walk out so that we can hear the Awooo. We farm silk off of the enemies whenever we can, because obviously we want as much as we can for movement. But yeah, it's unfortunate because we actually have to go quite a ways around to get to the key that we need. So we are going to have a fun thing here for this first key. You'll notice that we actually iframe through this enemy pretty substantially. And I think what's happening here is that these particular enemies have unusually long iframe periods after you hit them, because that does seem to be variable based on the type of enemy. For example, some of the spikes in the mist, those count as enemies, and those also have very long iframes after you pogo them. So there is a quick little arena here. We're able to use the traps to do a little bit of damage on these guys, but for the most part, we're just pogoing them down. Pogo hammers are quite effective. And trying to line up the trap timing is tricky. But we will get a trap off of that guy on the right. He gets finished off that way. And that's it. So this room, we're going to do a bunch of wall swimming. And fun fact, there's some traps on the left here that you can trigger. And as long as you stay hugging the wall, you can just go right past them. Now we get a quick little detour across the surface here to get to the final fight we need to reach. This, of course, is where you would fight the arena after you finally get your equipment back in the abduction scenario. But here we just have to do the fight normally. It's still a pretty quick fight. Nice little satisfying spear there. These guys have a fair bit of health, but pogo hammers are extremely powerful. Then once we grab the key, we can quit out. And that's it for now. We are going to be visiting Bilewater next, which is everybody's favorite area. Buying a bunch of maps from Chakra. And, of course, fighting Groll the Great. Thank you everybody for watching.